tragedy.
And Peter, really putting the human aspect to the fore as well, speaking about, families who will be hearing about their relatives on board as the hours go on as well. It is quite an incredibly sad situation as well as a tragic
sad situation indeed. And I should point out that our newsroom and our gallery, they've been working hard to get us the latest information with experts and facts from the ground. One of those experts we have with us right now is independent researcher and writer Soraya Sepahpour Ulrich, who joins us live here on RT International. Thank you very much for being with us, as always. Now, do you think that there's any connection between this tragedy and the conflict in eastern Ukraine?
Well, no doubt it happened over eastern Ukraine, so we can't rule that out whatsoever. But there is certainly, I think there is a link between what happened to this airliner and another Boeing 777 that disappeared months ago. Both of them went off course. And we have to question why it is that both planes did in fact deviate from their flight path. And in fact, this latest airliner was under the control of the Ukrainian traffic control when it disappeared such. So I think this is a really huge tragedy, as tragic as the war is, where it's actually, landed or crashed. But worse, from my point of view, is the fact that this is being so politicized. For hours now, I have been listening to the media here in the United States, in fact, telling their viewers, they have so-called aviation experts. Of course, I'm no aviation expert, I'm just a U.S. foreign policy analyst. But they are telling the viewers that they're in fact putting the blame on the anti-coup individuals in eastern Ukraine, and even pointing the finger at President Putin for this incident. And Mr. McCain, John McCain, is very happy to echo these sentiments. These are so premature, and these are more dangerous than the lives that have already been lost, because they could lead to more lives being lost at the rate that the media here is spinning everything.
Now, you mentioned that the media is already playing the blame game. We're hearing here already claims as well, and counterclaims of who is to blame. How quickly will we actually know the truth when we move past the blame game and the investigation takes place? How soon are we going to start getting real information that we can work with, as opposed to all of the speculation?
I really can't answer that question. What I can tell you is, at the moment, we're engaged in a media war. And, for one thing, we don't even have the list of the passengers. I know with the previous airliner, the other Malaysian airliner that disappeared for months, and we still don't know why, there were 2 passengers with stolen passports. There were at least 20 people that were experts at cutting edge technology. So we have no answers. We don't know who these passengers are, what they were, and we don't even know. I mean, yes, we can say everybody's capable of shooting this missile at this plane, but that's not going to get us the answers unless we know well, first we have to look who's on the plane, and then you have to look and see who benefits the most from such a tragedy, as from, if it is a missile, from this act of terrorism. And that in itself should answer the question, who is benefiting from this, to whose benefit?
Hi, Soraya. This is Yunin here in the studio as well. I just wanted to go back on a point. If this plane was shot down, and we don't know for certain if it was or not by a missile or otherwise, what could be the consequences for whoever is responsible? Let's talk a little bit about the wide reach of what could happen after this.
Well, I think it depends who's responsible. Let me just give you a similar situation that happened here in the United States. CNN's so-called aviation experts, one of them being Richard Quest, he's saying that you can stand from the ground and look up and know that this is a civilian airliner, and it was shot by a missile and they're terrorists. The same exact thing happened in 1988 when a U.S. carrier shot a passenger plane in the sky, and a passenger plane, and said mistook it for a jet fighter. So who pays the price for this depends on who is actually responsible. But what is for sure, to even venture to find out who's responsible for this, you've got to look at what led up to this. and what's happening now, what will happen later, or assume what will happen later. I mean, yesterday, Mr. Putin and BRICS countries announced their establishment of their, BRICS Bank and the pool, and then, you've had so much. Well, the United States imposed unilateral sanctions, more sanctions on Russia, with the EU being very hesitant, and rightly so. And today we have all this happening, whereby, according to the Western media, which I hear 24/7, it's been projected as an act of terrorism by not only pro-Russians, but by Russia. And this will have very dire consequences if we allow this kind of narrative to continue without even finding out what happened to this plane, who was responsible. It's been politicized, and it's so sad that 295 people had to die for the Western countries, America and its allies, to get a winning card to hit on the table. This is tragic. This is ugly.
And politics really, they're just going to have to be put to one side to carry out an investigation into what occurred. But of course, this is in eastern Ukraine. It's in the Donetsk region. It is an area of conflict. And the wreckage is spread over that area of conflict. How difficult will that make such an investigation by whoever actually carries it out?
Well, from what I hear is that already the people from Donetsk have cooperated, and black boxes has been recovered. This is what I'm hearing, but I can't be certain. But what I also hear on this side of the pond in America is the fact that whatever is found, the evidence will be tainted simply because it is in eastern Ukraine. And this tells me that no matter what is found on the ground, it's going to be painted politically and inaccurately, again, to score a political point. It's going to be very difficult to get to the bottom of this truthfully, because it's become, well, it's political. It's become who can score from this tragedy, even if they're not responsible for this tragedy, assuming that by some mysterious act the plane blew up and it crashed. But it's all about who can score politically from this. And you have to look and see who's got the most access to the media, who dominates the media, who dominates the internet. And that really, really concerns me, because we'll have very negative consequences.
Soraya, this is Sean again.
Hi.
Now, you already touched on this just a little bit. Malaysia Airlines has been in the headlines already twice this year. If it turns out that this was a straightforward accident, and I'll even take it a step further, if the plane was even shot down, what does this mean for the company? Does this put the company's future in jeopardy? Does it put trust in aviation in general in jeopardy? What are we looking at here?
One would hope not, because I'll be flying soon. But it is Malaysia Airlines, but at the same time, it's Boeing airliners. So I don't know if Boeing would like that kind of a reputation either. So it could have been a human error factor. It could have been a mistake on the part of the pilot. It could have been some gizmo on the plane that didn't work well, or it could have been shot down. We just don't know yet. But I think if we allow our fear to take over our common sense, then we all should sit at home and never fly again. I think that it's very unfortunate that, again, what really bothers me is that it deviated from its flight pattern and flew over the conflict area. That itself is either it was done deliberately, or if it was done deliberately, then there is some underlying reason, and it would point to the people that might be responsible. If it was not deliberate, then certainly it's just a pilot error, a human factor error. But whatever it is, I think that we should not cancel our flights tomorrow because of this incident. But we have to all, if we are to take action collectively, we need to look for the truth. If I'm scared of flying and you're scared of flying and they're all scared of flying, then we need to find out what it is that is projecting this fear in us, and get rid of the fear and the cause of these accidents, or how they're being projected.
All right. It's certainly interesting to hear your thoughts. As always, Soraya Sepahpour Ulrich, independent researcher and writer, thanks for being with us here on RT International.